What's up, guys? Thanks for checking out the video today. So today we're going to be digging into the mechanical and hopefully culminating with the engine being pulled from the GTR that's being built. And so basically the idea will be today that I'm going to be pushing to get a whole bunch of the intake and exhaust side pulled so that we can get in a situation where the engine is ready to come out. Sorting through the parts and doing a whole bunch of cleaning and getting this ready to paint. That's going to be the plan. Alright, so let's get to it. Alright guys, so I'm working away on the Skyline here. I think I have most everything off that would be required to drop the drivetrain. So the engine and the transmission subframe all in one piece. So how that's worked out is I have all of the electrical and piping squared away, pulled out of the way. I have the suspension dropped, brake lines, coilovers. Now, under the car is another story. I have the steering rack lines pushed to the side. I've got the clutch slave disconnected. Don't forget the wheel speed sensors. Those have to be disconnected as well. The drive shaft was disconnected. The line that runs to the hydraulic rear diff has to be disconnected, and as well the speedo cable, things like that. So just take a good look at what's there before you start trying to get this engine out. So now the concept is going to be that I have a platform supporting the engine as well as the transmission from underneath. And I'm going to try and raise the body off of the subframe and the transmission, and that should remain on the cart. This cart I use for actually moving around car bodies at my shop. So stripped car bodies I drop on here and I just push them around. So it should easily handle this engine and transmission. Yeah, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so we've got the engine, transmission, most of the front suspension sitting on a cart here. This is going to provide me a lot of access to do a whole bunch of things. Now, I think the first thing that I'd like to do, not that it needs to be the first thing, but I would like to swap out these N1 turbos for the new HKS units, and as well do the manifolds. And yeah, this is the time to do it because now I can get to everything. So that's nice. So I'm gonna lay out the HKS setup again so I know what I'm dealing with and what gaskets and parts are included. I'm going to get right to stripping the N1 setup off the engine and hopefully doing some assembly. So let's get to that. Alright guys, I've finished the turbo install and a few other small items on the GTR build. So let's take a look at these HKS turbos and these Tomei cast manifolds. Okay, so these turned out really nice. Like I've said before, I'm very happy with the kit. The HKS kit includes just everything required to put these in, down to all the little copper washers that are replaced, all the gaskets, The Tomei manifolds come with new metal gaskets as well for the manifolds. They come with the little locks for the nuts and studs, new studs as well. Just absolutely everything. So this turned out really nice. Now the main issue that you would run into on the install is getting to some of the studs and nuts on this setup. Like, where do you get your hand in there? If you got to think that there is a line of studs below this manifold on the flange. So how do you get a tool in there? How do you get your hands in there? I was using a magnet with an extension and a screwdriver to sort of spin the nut on, and then I used a really long wrench kind of in here, but I could only get, like, you know, maybe a quarter of a turn at a time. It took a really long time to get this all together, even out of the car. Now, I did do a twin turbo swap with the engine in the car when I put the N1 turbos on, but with these manifolds, the Tomei ones, they're a bit bigger, and these turbos, they're a bit bigger. It just makes it exceedingly difficult to have any space to get tools in there. So I'd recommend that if you're gonna stick with the twin turbos, you know, go stock plus, because you like the look and you like the way everything fits and how it performs. Then just pull the engine. Honestly, it would be an incredible struggle to get these on the engine in the bay. Now, a few other things that I did. I rebuilt the shifter with a GK Tech unit, the short throw. I found out that the little copper cup at the bottom of my shifter was missing, so that was what was causing all the slop. So it was actually missing parts. Surprisingly, it would still shift, but now it's tightened up. The GK Tech shifter really, it's a fairly complete shifter assembly, and it worked out really well. Then I also added the GK Tech brake lines to the front. Silly me, I ordered the R32 GTR setup, forgetting that I have the Brembos off of an R33, and so I had to modify the kit a bit. I had to make a little bracket to bring this distribution block up. I still don't 100% know if this is going to work, because I don't have a huge amount of slack here. I may have to remake this line, but that's my fault. But overall, we're moving ahead here. I'm just waiting on a drill bit. I don't have a 7mm drill bit to drill out this hole here so that I can add the head drain on the back of the RB26 here. So I'm just waiting for that. Should be here in a day or two. I just ordered one by mail. And yeah, so I'll be working on the head drain from PRP next. And that goes right here. Now, to have that head drain in the back there, you have to get rid of the water line that runs across the back. I am still using this water line, so I'm going to have to modify it to a hose so that I can kind of go around this. At least that's the plan, and we'll go from there. So that's where we're at. Okay guys, so next step here, I've been working on the PRP head drain. This is an interesting product. It allows for both water and oil to be drained from the back of the head. It is a quality made product. It comes with everything you need. Basically, The only modification that really needs to be done is you need to drill and tap one hole, and you need to remove a series of 3 sort of metal lines that run behind the head to make room for this to go on. So let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so there's a bunch of install videos of this online, so I'm not going to go into great detail. But the basics are that on the back of the head here, you have 2 frost plugs. Okay, remove those. All you're doing is hammering on one side of them. They'll flip. Then you grab some pliers and you pull them out. There's one hole here that needs to be drilled with a 7mm drill, and then tapped with, I believe it's M8 by 1.25. And now the part that causes a bit of problems is that there's a water line that runs through here, and as well there's 2 basically vacuum references that run there. Now the vacuum references I wasn't using because I already reworked a lot of my vacuum lines, but the water line I was using. So what I did, I cut it off. I put a single flare on there so that I don't have to worry about the hose clamp sliding off the end of a steel line. So that's what I did right there. On the other side, exact same thing, single flare. And I'm just going to run a rubber hose to link these together, and that way I can sort of tuck it in by the PRP head drain. I've chosen to run the oil drain to the intake side. PRP gives you an option to do either side, or both, I guess, if you really want to. So this side I put a plug in. This is going to be a dash 12, I believe. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be simplifying the coolant lines because I don't need a lot of them. I'm going to get rid of the ridiculously big water-cooled oil filter housing that's on this side. That's going to be taken off, and I'm going to simplify the coolant lines, which is going to take care of a lot of this in here. This is all going to be gone. I'm going to keep the cold start sort of heater element sensor thing here, but this is going to be gone. So that's next. I'm going to be going to Tark's Performance distribution block for the oil, which is going to permit me to run both a cooler and to remote mount the oil filter on the Greddy unit. So that'll be good. And yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to clean all this up, reroute some lines, and simplify things a little bit. Okay, so the head drain is done. So let's take a look. So we start at the PRP adapter on the rear to a dash 10 AN fitting, some hose. I didn't go with the braided steel hose because this is actually the cold side, and it runs down through here to where just below where the oil filter housing would be, and then bam, into the top of the pan right behind the alternator. So pretty simple setup, and now we are hoping we don't have any high RPM oil pressure variations with the extended sump and the head drain. So we'll see on the dyno, I guess. So behind the scenes, to make these videos possible, I've taken on a sponsor, and that is AFR Autoworks in Red Deer, Alberta. So if you guys want to support the channel and you want to support vendors that support this channel and help me make videos, head on over to AFR Autoworks store, check out some of their promotional items, maybe buy a hat, some gear, and whatever purchases you make will come back on me and this channel and help support me make videos. So if you do like the channel and you do like the content, make sure you support the vendors and the sponsors that support me and my channel. So head on over to AFR Autoworks store. Thanks. All right, guys, so where we're at with the car at this very moment, being the 23rd of October. Okay, the car is getting polished. The paint was above average. However, since I'm going to kind of a once-in-a-lifetime car show, I decided, okay, I'm driving 29 hours to Texas from Canada to participate in GTR Fest. I don't think I'll be doing that a whole bunch more. I want the car to look decent, so I paid for a professional to come in and polish the car. He's doing a great job, but in between his polishing, I'm still trying to move forward with the build. So overnight here, I'm going to be losing some sleep, and I'm going to paint the bay. So this is where I'm at. So if you've seen some of my other videos, you know how I do things, not completely by the book. So all that is wiring. It's strapped to the ceiling just to pull it out of the way, because a 30-plus-year-old wiring harness is not going to be very happy if it's pulled through these holes and moved around too much. For speed, I am not removing the master cylinder or the clutch master, and I'm just going to be painting around it. So I did a little bit of rust repair already, masked everything off, and our next step is to epoxy to make sure that none of that rust that was removed ends up poking through. And after that, it's going to be base, Millennium Jade, and clear coat. And then it'll at least give a little bit of cleanliness through the engine bay, and hopefully make the car a little bit better overall. So that's what we're doing next before the drivetrain goes back in. So I will spray that tonight and show you some of the results. Okay, so the paint's done in the engine bay. Let's take a look here. Okay, so I mean, not a lot of this is going to be showing because there's going to be an engine in here, but it's all cleaned up, it's all painted. Now we can put the wiring back and make this look super nice, and on to getting the drivetrain back in the car, which is amazing. It'll be a nice push forward. You're gonna have to reroute some things like the fuel lines, which are way down here, but overall the paint went really well, and we're going to keep pressing forward. It is October 24th, not very long until GTR Fest, so let's keep going. So we're getting pretty close here. Transmission is on, engine is back on the subframe. Let's take a quick look here. All right, so yeah, Boy, this transmission is heavy. Just moving it around by hand. Yeah, it's quite awkward. I mean, it could be the giant transfer case that's hanging off the back of it, or it could be that it's basically a truck transmission. But yeah, so the clutch went together fine. That was the OS Geiken clutch. So with the throwout bearing on the clutch, it is on the side with the clutch lever here that is pushed on by the slave cylinder. Now that has a circular bearing that moves and pushes against the face of the clutch. That has to be a specific measurement, because if you move to a twin plate, the clutch gets thicker. So the bearing has to be, throwout bearing and all the assembly has to be shorter. This is a push type clutch. And so the concern is that if you use the same bearing that came with the stock clutch, or bearing sized that way, that it will actually put pressure, lateral pressure on the crank, and could create a crank walk situation where you're wearing the crank bearings and creating end play in the crank. So you got to be a little cautious on that. So now I did add as well the head drain on the intake side. I was able to weave it through all the way down into there. Okay, and it's not really impeded. And then I relocated the oil filter. It's a bit hard to see, it's down there, it's like gold. And that's so you could reach underneath the engine and have the oil filter in a traditional spot. Yeah, so I don't need it right under the hood for everyone to see the oil filter. I know everyone does that, but I'm not interested. So there is enough room to run these lines through here, just over the mount, and the frame rail will be right here. And it's fairly neat. It's not anything crazy. The intake manifold goes over top of everything. So that is where we are at. So at this point, I just have to bolt up the rest of the front suspension, and we will be putting this engine, transmission, transfer case, and front subframe back into the car, which is looking fantastic. Has an actual front window in it now. So if you guys do want to take a look at the install on the front window, I'm going to do a separate video on that. I just did it in my shop. There seems to be no real videos of how to install front glass in an R32 GTR, so I just did it here. It's really not that bad. I did the back window as well. I have a video about that too, so I'll add a video about this. This is factory glass back in from Nissan. That was not cheap, as you can imagine. All right, so hopefully we will have an engine in this thing soon. Okay, so we have the engine about halfway in. Just lowering it down slowly onto the platform here. So far, so good. Almost in. Okay guys, so we're at a good milestone here. So engine, transmission, cross member, everything is in now. And it was a bit of a struggle, but here we are. So not a whole lot has been done yet as far as like the extra wiring or the extra piping. The intake still needs to go on, things like that. I do need to clean a lot of those things. So now it's a little bit meticulous dealing with all of this wiring and vacuum lines. I will make it look a little bit more neat than it does now. Obviously it's looks pretty messy. The hot side looks nice and clean, which is good. All right guys, car is finally assembled, running. I'm gonna take it for an alignment. It's gotta be on a trailer because it's quite cold here now, close to 0 degrees Celsius, so I don't wanna get in some sort of a mishap driving around. So it's gonna be an alignment today and then a dyno tune tomorrow. So let's take a look at the car. Alright, so this is it. Got to get it on the dyno to get those new turbos dialed in, but runs and idles like it did before, because not any huge changes. Interior is in. This is that gauge art, the gauge art display there, the Nismo interior. Alright guys, thanks for following along with the videos. That's it for today. So we're going to be heading to the dyno tomorrow after an alignment today. I will have another video up of the dyno pulls, and hopefully everything goes well. If the car makes it through the dyno, even if it doesn't make it through the dyno, I'm going to be at GTR Fest on the 15th. So if you guys are down at GTR Fest, then definitely come by and check out the car, say what's up. It's been a long haul, so I will continue putting up videos through GTR Fest as well, so if you want to see some of the event itself, stay tuned to the channel. And as always, please subscribe, please hit the bell to make sure that you get notified when I put up new videos. And if you want to, visit me on Instagram at Wrench Rampage. Have a good night.